Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from Roto Wire here. Week 18 is over. NFL playoffs are on the way. I know you normally watch me for fantasy football stuff, but man, there's a lot going on. We'll be breaking down the playoffs all off season. If you're playing fantasy for the playoffs, if you're playing DFS, if you're prop betting, I won't leave any stone unturned. We will uncover deficiencies in offensive line, linebacker cores, everywhere across the line. We'll try to find every advantage we can because we know NFL games are planned out in the playoffs far more meticulously than they are in the regular season. And if we can identify the same things the coaching staffs will uncover, we can also find some great success in our gambling, your DFS or fantasy plays. So, again, if you're not following me on Twitter at Jim Coventry NFL, please do. It'd be greatly appreciated. I put up a lot of information, threads, actionable advice to help you make your best decision because you're a smart fantasy player. You're a smart gambler. You just want a little extra information. And my job is to make sure I provide you with the best information I possibly can. And if you are not a RotoWire subscriber, go to rotowire.com/try. I will point down for my audience on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook to see where that tag is. 2 days free behind the paywall, no credit card needed. I just put up a preseason, postseason cheat sheet for the playoffs. So I got that set with a lot of rationale in there to help you, again, make your best decision. If you're playing in fantasy leagues in the playoffs, you definitely will want to check that out. This week, programming notes. We will do a preview. NFC playoffs one day, AFC playoffs the other. We're doing those Wednesday and Thursday, roughly this time each day, in that 5 o'clock range. Somebody's asking for NBA tips. You need to go to Nick Whalen for that one. Nick Whalen and Alex Barutha. Those are our resident NBA guys at RotoWire. I'm a resident NFL guy, so I cannot help you with NBA. You do not want my help for NBA. But we have wonderful, amazing, talented people at RotoWire who got you covered. All right, let's go over some takeaways from Week 18. Wild game in Buffalo. So the Bills do pick up the second seed. They get the win. They knock the Patriots out of the playoffs. So excited to see that Damar Hamlin was able to watch that game. His teammates were able to know he was in the hospital. They could gesture to him. I know after the one touchdown, I believe Dawson Knox did the sign for him. Amazing. Just wonderful thing. But even though the Bills won, the Bills covered, there are some serious red flags that we've seen for about 6 weeks. This wasn't a one game thing because there's a lot of emotion in this game. We can't take a lot away, but we can take existing trends. Josh Allen, when this game was still definitely in question, threw another poor interception in the end zone. This has been a trend this year. There have been a lot of head scratching plays at inopportune times. And this is something that will potentially bite them in the playoffs. The problem with the Bills right now, this is not the same team it was early in the season. Stefon Diggs is obviously a legend at wide receiver, but they are not getting good wide receiver play consistently across the board. Gabe Davis, I don't believe, is what they wanted him to be. Isaiah McKenzie is a gadget guy, like 7th year in league. They tried to make him a deal into a deal, and that really wasn't there. Plays obviously now and again, but that's we knew he was never going to be a thing. You don't just get uncovered in year 7 and say, hey, we got this going. There are certain matchups that McKenzie can overtake. And John Brown, they even dusted him off and he had a long touchdown. So that was a real nice thing to see. But however, so again, we have the inconsistencies on the offense. We do not have a good offensive line. Josh Allen has toned down the running. Now, I do expect in the playoffs that will get ramped up with the season on the line because everything is at stake. So that's going to change our dynamic. But overall, there are a lot of flaws in that offense right now. And defensively, the injuries have really caught up. We know that free safety Micah Hyde's been out for months. They rarely recover from that. They've had other cornerback attrition over the season. That cornerback group is not playing like last year. The Von Miller injury. that has been a very difficult one. And they still have a good rotation of pass rushers. But what we're seeing is they're a good defense. They're not a great defense. They are a very, very good offense. They are not right now a great offense. Can that change the offense for next week? It's possible. Can't rule it out. Josh Allen is an excellent quarterback, and we know that. But they need to tighten some things up if they are going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I do have concerns about Buffalo right now. Now, every team in the AFC has flaws. Let's go to Miami now. Miami's going to play Buffalo this week. So Miami gets the favor done by the Bills beating the Patriots, allows Miami to squeak their way past the Jets to get in. Big field goal game, 9-6. Now, you give Miami a bit of a pass. Skylar Thompson was at quarterback, so you're playing with a third-string quarterback. How much can you really expect? The Jets had not been playing the lights-out level of defense we had seen in the middle of the season. They still were playing very good. Raheem Mostert broke his thumb in that game. We don't know his status for the wild card run. It seems unlikely he'll play, but it being the playoffs, if they can do something with a club or something, they give him the ball, they may play him. So I do have him on my fantasy postseason sheet, but I have a mark there. Check his status. Be nervous if you're going to select him. It does give Jeff Wilson a 1-week upgrade if they play one game. If they play more, that's going to be great. Henry, the Bills are going to steamroll Miami. They probably will. I expected them to steamroll the Patriots, and they were losing late in that game. I did not think that was coming. And Miami apparently, for what it's worth, the recent report I read about an hour ago is there's a chance Tua Tagovailoa plays. Now, the Bills are going to have to do some things to take away those weapons. Hill and Waddle, they need to press them. And that's not their style. Their style is zone. I don't know if they're going to go out of their comfort zone. If they play zone and no Von Miller, we know he's done for the season. The pass rush takes a bit of a hit. And if Tua Tagovailoa is not pressured, if he plays, if there's zone, that is his optimal sweet spot. I do expect the Bills to win like you, Henry. Expect them to win. But if Tua plays and the Bills don't make some adjustments to take away some of what Miami does really well, it could be a problem. Now, Teron Armstead, the left tackle, missed last week. If he misses, that's huge in a bad way for Miami. If he comes back, it certainly helps. He's been blocking at an outstanding level, especially as a pass protector this year, but he has missed time. So Miami did squeak in, was not pretty at all. But again, third-string quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see what the practice week brings about for them. And then Jalen Hurts comes back. And certainly he wasn't 100%. And certainly it was a tune-up because with a bye week, you can't, if he could get on the field, you didn't want to give him all this time off without playing with his teammates and the chemistry because you want to go in the playoffs on a roll. So he got reps, and there was a little bit going on between him and the receivers. But it was not a good game for the Eagles on offense. The Giants sat some starters defensively. They were down at least 3 defensive starters in this game. And the Eagles never really got on a big roll here. Now, and they were playing for the number 1 seed. It was a very, very important. Now, it's a division game. And these division games, we always have to understand division games bring familiarity. And that's a lot of the playoff games this weekend. We talked about the Bills and Miami. It's the third time they're seeing each other. There is so much film out on what each team wants to do. So if the coaches can do something about it, there's something to be thought about or concerned with at that point. So anyway, the Eagles did not look great. They didn't look terrible. They did give up points. Davis Webb at quarterback. Now, again, we talk about the psychological part of the game all the time. If Davis Webb is in, the defense probably is not amped up. You probably, from an emotional standpoint, are like, okay, whatever, Davis Webb is in, we don't care. And then ultimately, the NFL, they can play at the NFL level. He might not be great, but if you're not bringing your A game, we can see weaker players perform. So, but the Eagles have that home field locked up. They'll have a week off. Basically, there is so much flaw in the teams in the NFC, and you'll want to watch my preview later this week. Again, we'll do Wednesday and Thursday, AFC one day, NFC the other, and we'll break these teams down. We'll talk about the flaws they have, but right now is not that time. But I really do think the way the NFC is set up with the bottom teams just having so many deficiencies, it really looks like we're at a crash course for San Francisco and Philadelphia. Obviously, they play the games. Obviously, anything can happen on any Sunday, but right now, that would be where it's trending toward. And then the Cowboys we mentioned, oh my gosh, wow, just completely rolled by the Commanders. Now, the Cowboys, I heard this earlier today from Nate, it wasn't Nate Tice. I think it was the Ringer, might have been the Ringer podcast. And they're talking about Dak Prescott on grass surface. And I got to look that up. I'm going to do a little deep dive myself. And apparently there have been some metrics that have shown on natural grass, he hasn't been nearly as good. So I'm going to look that up and find out a little more before I get into my playoff previews. But whatever it was, the Commanders dominated them the entire game. Offensively, the Cowboys got one drive going where they got a touchdown. They could not move the ball. Under pressure, they couldn't run. They couldn't throw passes down the outside. It was brutal. And this is a Washington that was eliminated from playoff contention. And when they were playing this game, it wasn't as if they were playing a Cowboys team they were going to knock out of the playoffs. I mean, the Cowboys were firmly entrenched at the 5 seed. Now could the Cowboys have won and the Eagles lost? The Cowboys have gotten the division? Yes, they could have. So, but to me, when you're getting them to play spoiler, that's not really playing spoiler. It's like, the Eagles were probably going to win that game. Everybody knew the Giants were sitting starters. So for what it was worth, it was very problematic for Dallas. Playing their starters, playing to win, and getting rolled by the Commanders. So now they play Tampa Bay. They fortunately drew the long straw. It's as good of a matchup as you could get because talk about flawed teams, Tampa Bay is definitely that. And they are not getting the pressure that they had gotten in past years. They lost Shaq Barrett months ago, and the pressure rate has just been well below average. So Dallas is shuffling their line. We don't know if Tyler Biadasz, the center, will be back. He had high ankle sprain from a couple weeks back. He did not play, obviously, and that definitely hurt them, but it didn't matter. It was a poor performance. Dak looked bad, and hopefully it was a 1-week blip and they get back. But this team right now, to think they're going to put together a few-week run of playing at a high level with that coach, Mike McCarthy, again, the inconsistencies that he's brought worry me. And defensively, those injuries have caught up. Now, Dallas did sign Xavier Rhodes to their practice. And I know Xavier Rhodes, but we're so decimated at corner. Teams are just picking on the weak spot, Kelvin Joseph. And if they could get replacement level play, and they play a lot of zone too. So if they do that, then I think that Xavier Rhodes can function in that because obviously a very smart football player, very savvy football player. And, if the pass rush can do their job for Dallas, that will help them. So I do imagine he will be active for the wild card game. I am almost certain they will have to have him out there, but we will see. And then the last one, it was so, I live in Chicago. I'm a fan of all 32 teams. Bears are one of 32, no emotional connection to them. But it was, it was exciting to see teams vying for the number 1 seed. And the Bears are trying to win. There's no question those players were out there laying it out there doing what they can. Now, the coaching staff and the GM or whoever wanted to put Nathan Peterman in a quarterback. They did their part to make sure the Bears didn't have much of a chance. But the players who were on the field were giving it their best. But so Bears ultimately lose, and then it comes down to Houston. Houston blows an early 10-point lead. I don't remember, 17-7. It was a good, solid 10-point lead. And then in the second half, they just started to implode. And you almost wondered if they were just, either running out of gas or Indy figuring them out, or if they were tanking for the 1 seed. And then they get this last drive. And I'm watching the game with a friend while I'm working, and I'm saying to myself, I go, you know what? Houston's coming down. They're scoring on this drive. Indy's just going to fall apart, or they're going to think they won. And man, Davis Mills, 4th and 12, one of the plays the Colts don't get pressure. He throws past to the out perimeter, and Cooks gets 2 feet down, moves the chains on a 4th and 12. They continue to move things along. Big play in the red zone. They catch Jordan Akins for the touchdown. Less than a minute. Of course, they go for 2. Right back to Akins, and there it is. Texans win. Bears get the number 1 pick. Lovie Smith gets fired a couple hours later. Oh, my goodness. Wow. It was very fun watching it, though. It was just very fun watching how this number one pick was here, it was theirs in Houston, it was in Chicago, and then ultimately resides in Chicago. Now, the Bears, look, who knows what they're going to do? But look, I'll tell you this. I don't follow college football. I will study it up as soon as we get into the season being over. I will study it all up. I'll know all the ins and outs of these players. I'll watch film, do all the breakdown again. But right now, from my understanding from other people who are experts, there are 2 quarterbacks who are apparently considered ones that teams are definitely going to chase. There are at least 5 or 6 teams that desperately need quarterback help. They will call the Bears and they will offer them big package of picks to move. You may get 3 first-rounders, a second and a third, somewhere along that line. They are going to get offers along that line. There are teams picking in the top 6 or so that need quarterbacks and will want to trade ahead of teams. Who knows what all the logistics are? But the Bears, with the salary cap they have, with the potential to turn that number 1 pick into many picks, they can revolutionize their team in short order. It would be amazing to see them have this opportunity. Hopefully their staff is up to the task, but they absolutely, in my opinion, can restock this organization. Look, they have no pass rush. They have very thin depth at cornerback. They have one really good corner. They have built the safeties. The offensive line, I know this year they graded out well, especially in the run, but they really do need some pieces there. They clearly need wide receivers, so they need picks. Right now, to sell free agents, I don't know how many people are saying, yep, coming to Chicago. Roll in the Brinks truck. I'm going to Chicago. I don't know how many people are saying that. They might not be excited to be here. A lot of players want to sign with a winner. Right now, they may not see the Bears that way. But the Bears can go a long way toward turning that tide. So I'm excited to see what they do. They have an opportunity. Let's see what they handle it. All right, let's get some questions here. Oh, and Cliff Kingsbury got fired. It was funny because he was talking like, well, maybe I'll leave. Maybe I'll stay. And then he's like, yeah, I think I'll stay. No, you won't stay, Cliff. You were fortunate that you got hired by the Arizona Cardinals, who, other than the Bears, are there any, organizations that seem to know less about football? Bears gotten a little better lately. But, he should not have been around as long as he has. Very predictable, had weapons, did very little with them. Hopefully he can find a nice college job. I hope he gets a job because I want everybody to be employed. All right, so we talked Henry earlier. Yes, we talked about the Miami and Bills game. Randy, 3 leagues, 2 championships, first in a season-long picking. Yes. Jim Covington, I've been called worse. I got called that at my wedding by the officiant. Thought that was awesome. Covington, love it. The coach, that's nice. Randy, I appreciate it. I know you know many autocorrect. No, I totally get it. I love seeing that. Makes me laugh. Need a good laugh. Everybody needs that. And then Henry, so yes, move down for that haul, and they still could get. If they're looking for Anderson, they still could get him. Because there are a couple quarterbacks go 1-2. There's a lot that the Bears can do. You could trade out. You could trade back up. If Houston covets one specific quarterback, you could trade back 1 pick and get a haul for that to a degree, and then trade back down with another team that wants a second quarterback, that number 2 one. So there are a lot of possibilities. Again, who knows how they shake out, but it's a quarterback desperate league, and it is no better time to have a number 1 pick when there are a couple of quarterbacks that are considered ones that could be very viable at that point in the draft. And Henry, if you were Arizona, you would trade Murray and draft C.J. Stroud, and maybe so. I don't know what their draft capital is. Their draft pick, if it's high enough, they got a fairly high pick. They had a poor record, right? So maybe they are able to get a quarterback or trade up. We'll have to see how that unfolds. But I tell you what, Mario Puig and I talk on the Sirius show all the time, Sirius XM show. And by the way, we'll be on Saturday, Sirius XM Fantasy Channel 87. We will break down all 6 playoff games on Saturday. I'll be doing on this show Wednesday and Thursday, but with Mario, add a little bit more firepower there. So anyway, Arizona, we believe that Cliff Kingsbury was just so predictable as a coach, just did not do anything offensively to make his quarterback better. I would really like to see Kyler Murray have a chance, but I completely understand your point, Henry, because we haven't seen what we should have out of Kyler Murray. But I do think if they bring in a good coach, we could see some real fun stuff in that offensive personnel they have. And then Randy, go Lions. Do you think we will keep Jamal Williams? Don't know his contract status, Randy, off the top of my head. I haven't gotten that far yet. But yeah, but you know, I don't see why they wouldn't keep him. Now, I want to say he's close to 30, so there's that. But I don't see why they wouldn't keep him. He's a Dan Campbell type of guy for sure. So Dan Campbell wouldn't want him gone. But, running back is replaceable. It depends what his situation is. But if his contract is up, I don't know how much money he's looking for or what he'll get. My guess is he's going to get a lot of heavy offers. So I think they keep him. All right, looks like we got everybody here. Appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for your time. Remember, give me a follow at Jim Coventry at NFL on Twitter. Again, at Jim Coventry NFL. I stammered over that, so I repeated it. Appreciate you being here. If you didn't hit the like and subscribe button, if you're on Twitter and or YouTube, I should say, please do that. RotoWire.com. I just put that playoff article out. It's the rankings for the playoffs for if you're drafting and for the players. So if you want to see that free behind the paywall, RotoWire.com/try. No credit card needed. 2 days. You can check that out and be set for your fantasy postseason drafts. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll be back Wednesday. We're not here Tuesday this week because we're going to break down the playoffs Wednesday and Thursday. Have a great day, everyone.